another beautiful day here in Caine. It is a Sunday morning, just taking a walk to the premiere of Yanda. That is a South African production. It's a very chilled day today. As you can see, there are people sitting in restaurants, enjoying their Sunday afternoon. We just walked through a market, so it's a very big contrast to the glitz and glam that we saw last night on the red carpet. But nonetheless, it is absolutely beautiful. The weather is perfect, and of course, it's always great to look at the amazing architecture here.
The Silver Screen 2015 Caine special was made possible by the National Film and Video Foundation. All photographs on the French Riviera were taken with the Huawei Mate 7. Our first point of call for the day, though, is the Palais and a special preview screening of Yanda. The Deputy Minister of the DTI was on hand to chat to us about the film.
Have you had a preview to see what we can expect?
Well, I have not had a preview. As you know, the Department of Trade and Industry also contributed in ensuring that the film were able to bring it here. So I'm excited. I don't have any details about the film. I'm here to watch, and it's exciting, as you can see.
How do I get the DTI interested in what I do?
Well, the DTI offers a range of support to filmmakers, including rebates. So many filmmakers who have been doing road shows throughout to explain to them in greater detail all our processes, and many filmmakers, in particular black filmmakers, they have had it easy with the DTI in terms of support, and we keep on encouraging as many as possible to come and see us and to get the support that they need.
How much on an average is put aside to make sure that our filmmakers in South Africa get support?
Well, in monetary terms, we put aside about 300 million every year on an annual basis to support the film industry in South Africa.
Sarah Fletcher is both director and executive producer of Yanda, her previous success being Othello Burning. She can attest to the feelings a filmmaker goes through when putting your art out there for the world to see.
It's like you take your baby and you put your baby out there into the world, and you've got a place to put your baby into the world where it really is in the world. It's here at Caine. So it's really exciting. I think that the support that the South African government is putting behind film in terms of the rebate, in terms of the NFVF, has been extraordinary. If you look at the number of South African films that have been made, it's just like a curve upwards.
How well are South African movies being received with international audiences? Or is there a hunger for them?
I think that's the big challenge. I think that is the big challenge, and I think particularly movies that are subtitled.
Thank you everyone for coming. This has been a really special project for me as an actress myself, to be given an opportunity to introduce talents such as Folo.
He died here. My father right here. It was a stupid, avoidable mistake. Look, David, I need to get ahead, and to do that, I need commitment.
You have commitments. I thought that fixing your dad's car would free you. Said it's imprisoned you.
But then I see it clearly, that I've brought it back to life. Me. To love.
And I've been running away from the wise man in my head, and he said, go, 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 go get lost in the wind.
After the screening, we chatted to some of the cast and crew about their recollections of making the film and being part of this growing African industry of ours.
Kim, what did you think of the movie?
Am I allowed to be effusive? I thought it might be a little inappropriate to cry because it seems like a very professional setup, obviously being in the market. But I love the authentic way Yanda's story was told.
This is it's my first film, and it was obviously very nerve-wracking to be in a film and being the lead. So, but I've come so far, and I feel like everything that I went through in my life has prepared me for this point, and I don't want to consider it as the peak. I feel like there's many more after this, because I'm very hopeful.
Is this still an industry that one can be profitable in?
I think it is. I think if you have the talent and you have the passion for it, then you will work hard, meaning you will cultivate it and you will make sure that it is your living. Because, I mean, I feel like there's no greater investment than myself. And if I believe in what I do and I love it so much, then yes, I feel like it's profitable. And it depends on what you want.
I remember watching you and now I'm interviewing you, so I'm having a groupie moment. But apart from that, what did you think of the film and the response?
I mean, it's nerve-wracking to put your work out there as an artist and as a producer as well.
When you go and you approach your funders, you had this script and you thought this was amazing. When you approached them, what were some of the things that they surprised you with in terms of questions? What are some of the things that people need to be aware of? This is what they're going to ask you, so you better be prepared to answer this question.
I mean, I guess everyone who's putting money, they want to know how they're going to get their money back, which is a hard question to answer because we don't have a culture of cinema going as well. Not everyone can afford to go to the movies, and I think for us our angle was we want to take this film to the people.
No stranger to fame is Lyra, who was on hand as the performer at the South African party. Being a fangirl, I couldn't resist the opportunity to chat to one of my favorite artists about the worldwide brand she has created.
Being a content producer, tell us a bit more about that.
I've shot 3 concert films in South Africa. Our second production, called The Capture Tour, held the record in the world for being the first production to use 11 red cameras. And the record has since been broken by The Hobbit. And so that's pretty exciting, for a South African production to do such cutting-edge, world-class productions. So I love that, just pushing the bar in terms of how we can express ourselves as musicians. The logic for me was life wouldn't have given you these talents without the platform to express them. And often what stops us is the thinking that, oh, I can't make it, I can't do it. If you just sort of expect the best, you'd be surprised that it actually shows up.
You being in this particular industry, you have to scenario plan, be abreast with the coming up trends. What have you seen and how are you going to be positioning yourselves given technology, given the economic environment, given the competition that we do have in this industry?
Well, one thing that's really working out beautifully for us is visual content production. Again, we're always just creating cutting-edge and interesting products that will work on a global platform. Our latest project is Lyra Dream Chaser, which we take cameras and they follow me touring around the world. So the dream is obviously to become a global brand.
How are you able to break down the barriers? You've been a success in Africa and across the world.
My perception is that mine is a human story. The more I travel, the more I realize how similar we are. However, it's how you package a story. Mediocrity doesn't go very far in the world. But pursuing excellence is admirable and attractive.
We're waiting in a queue to get into an invite-only party or cocktail party at the American Pavilion. So come with me, let's see who's inside and find out more about the business behind films. Jerusalem was a great success. Let's talk about these future films that you have in the pipeline.
We're working on a number of really interesting things. I'm putting together a slate of 5 films in Nigeria. We're doing some high-budget feature films for South Africa, which will hopefully go into production in early next year. So there's a number of projects that are happening, some really exciting stuff really down the pipeline. We find it from various sources. Obviously there's some South African sources for money, the DCI, the National Film and Video Foundation, but there's also international sources of finance, there's pre-sales. That's why these markets are really important for us, because we get to meet the buyers, we get to meet the sales agents, we understand what the market is looking for in a global sense, really understand what audiences are wanting to see, and that's really important for us.
This is your 9th one. From the first one to the middle one and to now, how have things changed?
Yeah, it's been a great experience to watch how, especially the South Africans being here, how that has changed. In the beginning, I remember the first year I came, Bunny Chow was here with Kagiso Lediga and John Barker and David Kibuka. They were all here, this group of misfits just trying to make something work. And I think that's when I first got insight into what it means to come to Caine. It doesn't mean that you're necessarily going to be, at the Palais showing a film. There's this whole market that goes on and it's thriving. So I've been living in New York for the past 4 years and I've been very interested in seeing how South Africa is received over there and what people think. You know, it's funny, you think, people are going to just love it. South Africa, it's different. You know, they're going to be interested anyway. And then they go, you're from South Africa, and, you know, what does that mean? What else have you got to show? So it doesn't actually mean that just because you're from a different country, people are going to naturally be interested. They're interested in the ideas.
Film Without Borders at the British Pavilion, conveniently located next to the South African Pavilion, also has its own set of success stories about taking underprivileged aspiring filmmakers and affording them both the budget and opportunity to learn from one of the world's oldest industries. This is one of those stories.
Hi, my name is Mbulelo Mvimbi. I live in Cape Town, from Khayelitsha. The life in the township is very hard. You get a lot of people that take your money while you're going to school. I quitted school because my friend was stabbed to death in front of my eyes. But there are people that are talented, there are people that motivate, there are people that are good. Pretty obvious for me that you want to entertain people, make jokes, be passionate about what you're doing. Film Without Borders came. They have taught me so many skills to produce a short film, to set the lights, to handle the camera, and how to present yourself. It unleashes my potential. Action. I can see success in me.
So the visa, the results came back, and remember I told you it can go either way, right? Either way is important. Remember, if I said if it's successful, it's successful. If it's approved, if it's unsuccessful, we'll have to go through the same process again in hope that it would be approved. Okay.
Okay.
So unfortunately, okay, results came back, and your visa has been approved. Lionsgate UK covers your internship as well as your health insurance and travel insurance and your living allowance as well. So Lionsgate will cover all of that. Okay?
Okay.
Then further, your internship is basically going to involve you being involved in a film called London is Falling.
Yeah.
And this stars Morgan Freeman and Joe And it will also be filmed at different London locations such as Pinewood Studios.
Wow.
Okay, so it sounds quite exciting.
Wow.
Now with regards to your ticket, so this is your ticket, your e-ticket, okay? And Swiss Air covers all the costs of your ticket and your route.
I appreciate what Film Without Borders has done to me. They have changed my life. I've realized that I will be an actor one day, or I will be behind the camera one day. So I will be in a board. I'll make you proud, guys. I will try all my best to showcase my talent, to showcase my skills, to show what my family have been through.
Not quite right, is it? But it is beautiful. Stay with us. We're heading into a short break. When we come back, we'll have a lot more for you in store. Coming from Caine. It's our final day here in Caine. I can tell you I'm absolutely exhausted. Sleep is not a priority when you are here. One thing that is interesting is that we've had fantastic weather, and it looks as though the weather has finally turned and we're taking the good weather back home to South Africa with us. So in the nighttime this place is jam-packed, and the reason is this place is where the free screenings for the public happen. You won't be able to get through. So think about this. You're watching a movie on the beach in Caine.
Back to the business of film. Now, financing is all good and well, but when dealing with government agencies and financial institutions, funds aren't always speedy. So what does a filmmaker need to do? The answer: find bridge financing.
Paul, your role, what exactly do you do? What services are you offering?
Right. We are Hollard Film Guarantees. We provide completion guarantees to the film industry. We also provide bridge funding. So if a producer comes to us and he says, I've got money from Mnet, I've got the rebate, I've got money, say, from Ster-Kinekor or Times Media, but it's not all in the right place at the right time, we will then take all that money, we will plug the holes in the cash flow, and then allow the producer to go ahead and focus on making the film and not making the deal.
What percentage of the whole do you plug?
I mean, generally on an average film, we will plug 10 to 15% at any one time, depending on how the cash flow works. But you know, Mnet, for example, might pay when you deliver. The DTI pays the last installment when you deliver. So there might be R1 million gap, which the producer has to fund before they get the final payment. So that's what we do.
What does a producer need to come to you in order for you to say, okay, right, let's talk about filling these gaps? What needs to be in place?
Look, it's quite a complex process from paperwork point of view, but we have a fantastic app. It's online, it's in the clouds, all the documents are stored there. Every producer has their own filing room. So, but we normally start with a script, a budget and a finance plan, and when we see the finance plan, we're able to determine what documents are required when we see who's involved in funding the film.
Stone Cold Jane Austen, a mouthful if ever there was one, and the film is about as outlandish as its title suggests. Director and star John Savage was on hand at the Palais to introduce his film at the international buyer screening.
The whole thing was a very crazy experience. But it was a real group effort. It was crowd-funded, and I think that's quite important to say, that it was an experiment in crowdfunding, which is why we were really able to take it as far as we want and to be as crazy as we want, and have more swearing than any other film in the history of the world.
It makes South African artists look ridiculous.
Never stole his life. I don't even know what it means. It's Afrikaans.
People got to believe that we love Afrikaans music.
We love Afrikaans music?
Yes.
We don't even speak Afrikaans.
Yeah, well, I'm learning.
I'm sorry, I can't do this anymore. This dude's an idiot. Like, he's an absolute loser.
It's just us. Jay, Miles, Reynos.
Bad things happen.
I'm working here. You're coming into my space trying to tell me what to do.
Can you cut that out of the movie?
I think you should cut that out. That shouldn't be part of it.
This summer comes a movie about rocking. A movie about rolling.
You lose one friend in a little fiery death, and your whole life's drama.
A movie that critics have called not bad for a South African film.
It's not cool when two people do it.
Mr. Kurt sir, my name is Carl. I spoke to you on the phone. It's a great pleasure to finally meet you.
A true South African original.
You owe me. I don't owe you anything. Can you just stop complaining for once in your life?
Rob van Vuren.
This is the callback.
John Savage. Stone Cold Jane Austen. The greatest rock story you've never heard.
There you have it.
It's a whole different experience. They're going to be like, huh? What? No. Oh my God. Oh wait. Yeah. This is amazing.
Is this something that the international market will be able to relate to?
Yeah, so I'm an American filmmaker. I had met John briefly yesterday on our way into the festival. He told me a little bit about the movie, but I'll tell you, I was surprised in how accessible it was. It's a story about two guys that are young men pursuing a dream, totally a universal, relatable concept.
This is very different from what South Africa's used to.
You know what? It's a story that I think most people relate to, and I think it's I think we have a tendency to ham up South African culture often when we do movies and stuff. And I wanted to tell a real story that was very unconventional, but it's a story that I relate to very, very closely. And I think it's something that a lot of artists will relate to as well. And it's about struggling with trying to make your dream into reality. It's an impossible venture. I mean, this film also parodies the movie in a little bit. The film's so weird that no one would really take it seriously, and in the early stages, television stations were supportive but said that it couldn't be turned into a feature. Film financiers didn't take the idea seriously. I couldn't get anywhere with it, and as a last resort, I turned to crowdfunding, and the community just absolutely got behind it in such a powerful way. And it's not only the money, they've actually been a family to me, and I've created this whole family. I just came out of the screening, I've got 200 text messages from really the Stone Cold family that we've grown. And I hope that we can, if there's any possibility of doing another project after that we've created this family who want to see, I think, different content. There's no vehicle for something like this.
An individual who certainly isn't afraid of content that's a little different or left of mainstream is director Gus Van Sant, whose Sea of Trees, starring Matthew McConaughey and Naomi Watts, was met with a rather mixed critical reception. The director and his cast still strutted the red carpet with pride, even though their film was booed off the screen by the notoriously vocal Caine press. Someone who made a surprise appearance on the red carpet was Robbie Williams, and practically upstaged both Van Sant and his cast as the pop singer mugged his way down the line of paparazzi with his gorgeous wife. Our final stop before leaving this year's festival was the press conference for the Film Youth, where both legendary Hollywood icons Michael Caine and Jane Fonda were on hand to chat to us and amuse us about their careers.
I came to Cannes 50 years ago with a movie called Alfie. And Alfie won a prize, and I didn't. So I never came back.
You remain young and vital in your mind, which is, your spirit, when you have passion in your life. And I do, and the film does.
But the only alternative to playing elderly people is playing dead people. So I picked. I'm quite smart. I picked elderly people. I thought that's a better idea, because I have 3 grandchildren and I live for them. So
yes, there is something very vulnerable about an old woman who puts on the mask of makeup and everything, and when that's stripped away, she becomes very vulnerable, and it's fun to play.
And our very last stop on the red carpet was to see these screen icons make their way to the premiere of Youth, with both youthful exuberance and experiential pride.
So we're here at the Majestic Hotel, and this is where all the big stars stay. You could possibly get a glimpse of them sitting at the cocktail bar. We shouldn't be filming here, but we're doing this all for you, so you can get a glimpse of how the stars live.
The after party continued into the wee hours of the morning.
It's been an eventful couple of days here at the Caine Film Festival, and we are wrapping up our coverage of the business behind the film industry. If it's anything that I've learned over the past couple of days, is that the film industry is like any other industry. Strategy is key, having a good business plan in place, knowing your market, and it really is all about hustling. So as we wrap things up here at the French Riviera in the beautiful Caine, remember that if you do want to make it into this business, you better make sure you hustle and you got your plan in place.
Don't forget to join us again next year for Caine 2016, only on CNBC Africa's Silver Screen.